Yeah, alright, so I guess welcome everyone to my set 9 tier list for JP. We've been like a few days, like 5 days since set 10 is released, so we've had like a month and a bit to play in the set 9 meta. So I think I have a pretty clear understanding of what deck is good, what deck is not. So as you can clearly see, we have Twitch chat off to the side, so say hi to the YouTube Twitch chat. But this tier list is very simple. It's tier 1 is the good stuff, like the stuff that you should expect to see in a tournament and probably expect to see on ladder with a few exceptions. Tier 2 is like playable decks that aren't amazing but not terrible. And everything else is just please don't play. So we just go in order from the tier list. Oh yeah, one more thing. Shout out to the guy who made this format, Kairos Darkplay. Go follow him on Twitter. He's also the guy who handles the database stuff, so go support him. Good, cool guy. Yeah, so we'll start. MLB. I think it's still tier 1. Like this is pre-Ashley, so this is just like old MLB with like MLB Spirit with like the 2 Spirits, 3 Star Calls, with Palamedes and Ganslots. The deck is still strong, although it's probably like the weakest tier 1 deck just because the crackback of the deck is actually very vulnerable. Because of the fact that you have to suck in your intercepts, decks can actually just murder you now. The 12k base isn't actually the best defensive base. It's like the 12k base isn't enough to stop you from eating shit. So yeah, that's why it's still strong. I think it's still better than everything that I want to put in tier 2. So yeah, that would be still tier 1, still super strong. The deck's been alive for like 5-6 sets now. The deck needs to hurry up and die, but until it does, the deck will probably stay tier 1. Next, we have the deck I've been playing for a while now, as of recent, Tsukuyomi. I think this deck is tier 1. Like this deck, once the deck gets to stabilize and get to its stack and start flipping its heal triggers, the deck literally cannot lose. And the deck will filter through the deck super fast with the attendants. They create their own stack of triggers. They draw into all their PGs and they reach their heal triggers. And their draw triggers and then stands to close. Tom's still stupid. So yeah, Suk is very strong. There's a reason that a lot of top Japanese players like Muto and Yuki, like players like those still play Suk to this day because the deck is super strong. Yeah, tier 1, I think it's better. I think it's a little. Because the ceiling, the floor is you just auto lose because you don't see your grade 2 Suks. Your deck just kind of falls flat on spaces. You need the soul for the card to draw, for a grade 2 Suk to draw. So if you don't get your ride chain off, you're kind of really fucked. This is Goddess of the Sun. The standalone deck is trash. If you put it into Suk, well, it's still Suk, so it would be tier 1, but this is the standalone deck, so everything else. PBO. I'm probably gonna get flamed for this. I think it's in everything else. I think this deck fucking sucks. I don't think in JP meta, I don't think this deck can keep up anymore. It's too slow. I think that deck is in the everything else tier. Like you could argue for like the bottom of tier 2, but at that point it's like this deck might as well be unplayable. Ezel, not even a question. It's tier 1. This deck is busted. Well, granted, to be fair, the deck is very strong. It's very stable, but isn't nearly as explosive as something like Aqua Force or Eradicators. But the deck is very stable. Spirits makes the deck super strong because you can afford to play 9 draw in the deck now to draw for extra intercepts to save counterblast, and you can also hit. You also use your draws to draw into more PGs. The deck's main problem before is that you needed to play crits or stance to push for damage, and that made it so that you had less chances to draw into your PGs, resulting in a bunch of like fake hands. So the Spirits made the deck tier 1 pretty much. Before, I thought the deck was basically in everything else tier. But yeah, Spirit's super strong. Platinum's also a pretty strong finisher too. So yeah, Ezel tier 1. I don't think it's close. It's definitely not a question anymore. Ezel's definitely tier 1. Yes, Chrome Jailer. The Chrome Jailer list to me is probably like the low end of tier 2. This is a Shadow Paladin, by the way. This isn't gold. This is it's like just like good stuff Shadow Paladin that Chrome Jailer is your new boss. When you play Goat Starter, you play the 4 spirits, and you basically rely on Chrome Jailer's Persona Blast to check the spirits in cards to try to flip for more spirits. So basically, it's just a strong way for advantage engine, I guess. Because at the end of the day, you still have stuff like the main and card plus, and Chroma Jailer has that more or less free crit. But at the same time, it still has the same problem of PBO, PBD of not being able to end games very well. So that's why that's a stopping from deck from tier 2. But this deck is probably at the bottom of tier 2 for sure. Definitely nowhere near tier 1. Alright, next we have Duke. Duke belongs in the trash. That's enough. Duke belongs in the trash. 9 crit cheese is cool, but the deck belongs in the trash. We have Dote. I think Dote's still a strong deck. I don't think it's tier 1 anymore. Like, before all the break red stuff, I still consider the deck the bottom of tier 1, but I think tier 2 is where it belongs. The deck is still very stable. Conroe gets you PGs, Dote is still strong, Overlord is still super strong. The deck has a bajillion ways to beat over intercepts. Very good at controlling the game board, the state of the board as well, so I think Dote is still a very strong contender. And you can see, I think Brown Rice Master, something like that. He took Kagero into championships, he made top 8, so clearly the deck isn't bad by any means. Next we have The Blood. That's tier 2. It's definitely not as bad as these decks, because the Blood at the end of the day is still part of Narukami, so you still play stuff like Gutters to push for damage. The Blood himself is a little bit overcosted, but you can get ways to play around with stuff like Garuda. And the deck is still super strong, because if you're at 4 against the Blood and he does his limit break, he's still asking for 2 PGs or you lose on the spot. So Blood is still super strong. I think it's still a playable deck, but it's definitely the worst out of the 3 Narukami decks, being the Blood, Dungaree, and Eradicators. Alright, next we have Dungaree. Yeah, it's tier 2, it's not tier 1. Dungaree, it's a super strong deck, but the deck is a little too reliant on Dandan, and in a meta filled with Eradicators, and Saishins, and Linchus everywhere, Dandan is probably just dead. So you basically lose a very important part of your deck, unless you decide to damage deny, but at that point you might just fall too far behind the damage and lose regardless. But against every other matchup, the deck is super strong. The deck is like arguably as strong as like stuff here. But the fact that Narukami is super popular makes Dungaree as a deck not as strong in my opinion. I think Dungaree is definitely like in the border of tier 1, tier 2. This deck is a joke. This deck is a joke. Oh, not there. There's that Emperor. Spike Brothers. Where do I want to put you? I think they're still tier 1. I think they're still tier 1. Very. So there's like 2. I think it's ahead of MLB, but Alliances. There's like 2 builds to Emperor. There's the stable Emperor build without Bad End, and then there's a super explosive build with Bad End. I personally prefer the build without Bad End, but the Bad End build is still super strong. As you saw, Leaf take the Spike Brothers to second place, I think, in the championships. So clearly, like, the deck isn't. Bad End is not a bad card. I just don't like it myself, but that's just me. But yeah, Emperor is super strong. The deck also has a Conroe clone and Mecha Trainer, so you just have PGs. The only problem to that is that, again, Eradicators are everywhere. The card, if you go second, you might as well just kiss your Mecha Trainer goodbye, just pretend it's not there. It's just not worth damage denying against Narukami. They're going to shit out damage faster than you can. You also have Jelly Beans, just Gancelot, recyclable heal trigger, and the card can never be a brick because you have like 8 to 10 targets in deck, so the card will never be dead again. Very strong. And then for the not Bad End build, you got access to stuff like Mason to make it so that if you have to misride a safe free, you can actually have an insurance to make sure you can get up point attack off. And then you also have the Jumbo, the stun gun. I just call him Jumbo, but the counter charger. So it makes Douglas actually a usable card. You can actually use his counter blast because Dumbo can refund the counter blast and still your solo. So that's actually really nice. Yeah, I'll probably have, if I'm not too lazy in editing, I'll have like lists up for all these decks that are not in everything else as I talk about them. This deck's annoying, it sucks. I think this deck sucks. Aqua Force, I wonder. Yeah, definitely tier 1, not even a question. Cool. If you've been here my streams long enough, Glory Maelstrom is fucking cheating. Glory is so stupid. Dia is also a super stupid card, so yeah. Deck is just super solid, but like, you need to draw into your piece. The only problem with the deck is that like a little, piece reliant to an extent, but you have stuff like Eric to dig for Maelstrom and Diaz, or Glories. You have stuff like the Penguin to help you draw extra cards, and obviously you have draw triggers. So the deck is still super solid. No, not true. The deck is super strong. It's still one of the. It's definitely a top 3 deck in my opinion. I personally think Ezel's a little bit better. I prefer Ezel's stability, but like, I think these 2 decks are interchangeable. Where they are in tier list placement. Yeah, grade 3 to PG or die is very, very strong. And he has added benefit of being on a cross-side base, so yeah, there's also that. But Dia being able to just poke for 1, Glory cheating is very good. Maelstrom killing off boosters is also really strong. The deck is just very solid. I'm probably gonna get flamed for this too, but I think this deck sucks. Yeah, I think Polaris is just that. If you want to if you're interested in Great Nature's playstyle, just play Spikes. Polaris is just a poor man Spike. This deck sucks. This deck sucks. Liberators. I think this deck is very good. I don't think it's tier 1 good, but I think it's definitely tier 2 good. I think it's a little better than the Blood. I don't think it's better than Dote though. I think Dote is still because Dote still fucks over Ezel to an extent, with getting over intercepts, but like, yeah. Liberators, why I think they're like not like just unplayable garbage is because the deck's early game aggression is so potent, because you have Bruno with S-Crad. Because like S-Crad with Bruno lets you scale lanes early with Fallon as well. Because if you assume, let's say if you go first and you ride like anything and put the Wingull Liberator off to the side, and the opponent rides a 7k or lower, you can hit face, and then Fallon being a 12k attacker turn 2 with the Wingull is a 17k column, meaning you're guaranteed to scale and hit. So yeah, there's that. The deck's early game aggression is super strong. Blaster Blade Liberator being searchable by like everything is also super good because this CV2 spot removal. So yeah, very strong. The deck is. The only problem with the deck right now is that sometimes you just run out of counterblast and you can't do much about it. The deck pluses enough, but you still need this play 9 draw in cases that we don't see like Josephus's getting superior calls, stuff like that. Yeah, very potent deck. I definitely don't think the deck is bad. Genesis. Genesis. I am very tempted to put it here, but I think the deck is good enough that I can put it here. Yeah. Yeah, I think here is about right. Like, near the bottom tier 2. The deck isn't unplayable, but the fact that the deck relies on random soul charger makes the deck really iffy to me. Like, if you just soul charge all your Chamomiles and Melissas, and then you super pop off with Iwa, the deck is super strong, but like, sometimes you just don't get your pieces in the soul and you cry, or you soul charge all your triggers when you need them. So yeah. It's just too random soul charge reliant, because you don't have stuff like the Dancing Princess and Night Sky and Togo where it's just a selective put into soul. So yeah. And your grade 3s are like not too. Artemis is like cool, I guess, but like Iwa is your finisher, but you can only basically use her once she's 6 Soul Blast. Mizuha's cool for the crit. And Himiko is like an okay break ride. Alright, we will save Eradicators for last, because I pretty have the most to talk about that. Ethics Plow. I don't think it's tier 1. I don't think it's tier 1. I think it's like top of tier 2. Alright, so if you want to see why this deck is stupid, go watch the championships, go watch Iggy play. Yes, he sacked, but when this deck pops off, this deck is like unstoppable. Because like your side columns are huge, your Vanguard's restanding to get a bunch of drive checks. The deck, you just kill from 3 past like 2 to 3 PGs. Yeah, the deck is disgusting when it wants to work. But like when the deck bricks, the deck just does not function. Like if you have to ride like not ethics first, the deck feels so bad to play. Yeah, the deck is super. It's like, I think Ethics Blau by far has the highest ceiling out of any deck in the game right now. The deck when it wants to work is super strong, but when the deck doesn't work, the deck is like definitely somewhere here. It's definitely somewhere here, and the deck doesn't want to work. But when the deck wants to work, it's here, and more often than not, it will work as you have the Ghost Clone. So as long as you dig into the ethics and you get to ride it first, the deck functions. And yeah, high tier 2, I think it's where it belongs. You could probably argue it being over Dungaree too. Yeah, but Dungaree's a little more stable, so I think I'll leave it like this. Yeah. The deck everyone plays and the deck that everyone hates playing against is probably Eradicator, so fuck this deck. I think this deck is the best deck in the game right now. The deck is so stupid. So where do I start on this? If you don't want to take my word for it, just go look at the championships data. Basically everyone had Erad as one of their 2 decks. Almost everyone in top 8 had Erad as one of their 2 decks too. The deck is disgusting. The deck is stupid. Let's see, so where do I want to start? So for grade 3, his Bowing Sword is stupid because he's just, when you ride something, it's just free spot removal. Like, Bowing Sword being free is so good. GBD is good for checking fake hands where they don't have PGs in hand and you just kill them. But like GBD is kind of like, the more I've played with, initially I thought GBD would be like the better card out of that in EDD or Descendant. But after playing with the deck a lot more, I think Descendant is your MVP. Because like Descendant lets you check for so many PGs. Yeah, but the deck does kind of not do too hot if you don't get to ride Bowing first. But like even then, the deck still has enough ways to just push past intercepts and hit face enough to the point where Descendant is super lethal even without the break ride from Bowing Sword. But yeah, like because there's like the really stupid play of Descendant being able to check for 3 PGs if you break ride, because you go ride Bowing first, and then when you're at limit break, what's that 3? You ride the Descendant, you kill off 1 intercept, you find some other way to kill off the other intercept, like be it like Death Sight, Sasso, or a Gunner, and then now they have no intercept, so you go rear lane into Vanguard, and then rear lane again into Vanguard. They're at 5 now. And I think Descendant is huge because of limit break, or because of Bowing Sword's break ride. You hit unboosted. More often, like you probably don't need to boost here, or you can just counterblast his power. You hit, they PG, and then you restand and hit again and check for another PG. So like from 3 damage, you can check for 2 PGs with Bowing Descendant, which is really, really strong. And then if your opponent is at like 4 damage, they check for 3 PGs, and they're at 5, they need all 4 to not die. Yeah, and the grade 2 line is super solid too. You have Death Sights and Saucers for spot removal. I personally think Death Sight's a little better. And then you also have 12k attackers, which is really nice because they're live turn 2 as well. So you can also do the Liberator play where you put the Lin off to the side and scale for 17 killing point first. And then after that, you also have you have some tech choices like the Lyra clone, CV2 draw 2. And then you have Zoiton, which is a really good countercharger because he soul charges, meaning you can use Rising Phoenix more often in a game. Like you can play 3 and like actually potentially resolve all 3 copies of it. The plus, which is really strong, really good. The deck's only problem is that if you brick nothing but grade 3s in hand, the deck just falls apart. But even then, the deck is still workable because you have so many ways to push for damage. So yeah, these are my opinions on set 9. Yeah, this is only set 9. I don't want to do set 10 yet because I'm not too sure about all the set 10 stuff. And this is only set 9.